April special
Yeah.
issue 1. I
Oh
assume it's
man.
various creators on this because it's an
Yeah,
anthology.
so there's three main stories, and the biggest one is called Planet of the Apes, or a rise of battle for an eventual contest of the Legion of Do Oo Oo Ah Ah. Right. So there's a lot of silly
Rolls off
puns.
the tongue, Matt. That's
Yeah.
an excellent title.
Right. And this is John Layman and Carl Mostert. So John Layman on the writing, Carl Mostert doing the art. And essentially, it starts off with Mala creating his own Legion of Doom out of gorillas, and they're calling them the Legion of Do Ooh Ooh Ah Ah. Not doing that anymore, so I'll just call them the Gorilla Legion from here on out. But he's got a Silverback, who's a full-on mechanized gorilla. You got Ultra Humanite. You got Jackanapes and Titano. And essentially, Mala is like, hey, with Grodd not here because he's locked up, and it mentions the stuff that has happened in Flash, that, you know, this place is ripe for the picking, so they can't stop us all. And they introduce, unless this has been a pre-established character, this monkey named Gore. So like Eek, like a monkey says, and Gore, who is kind of like this henchman scientist. He even has a hump on his back, and that he's been studying magic. And Mala asks, you know, which book, and he pulls out the Monkey Nomicon. So it looks like the Necrocomicon from Evil Dead, but it has an evil ape face on it. And that's where it ends the prologue. And the story jumps into Sam Simeon in Bloodhaven looking for this. They were transporting some monkeys in between a zoo, and someone hit the transport van and took the monkeys. As he's investigating, he comes across Bobo, so he runs into Detective Chimp.
I was going to say, if this story revolves around
Yeah,
monkeys, then it's not quite right, because monkeys aren't
yep,
apes. Just
yep,
put that out
right.
there.
And they mention that numerous times about the tail, because they'll call one of them a monkey, you know, and then they'll make that comment. And so they start, you know, Chimp is like, well, this could just be like animal activist stuff, you know, freeing these monkeys. And Sam's like, I don't know, this feels bigger. Um, and as he says that, Monkey Prince pops in, and he's missing an arm. And he says that he got jumped by someone. He knows it was a gorilla because gorilla fur, he goes, no offense, gets pungent when it's wet and it's raining in Bloodhaven at the time. Uh, and he says that he was really strong and he ripped off his arm and beat him with it. And you see in the art that it's Malak because he's wearing the beret in the silhouette. And then when he mentions that he had a French accent, Sam and Bobo realize. So as they decide to get together, that they're going to go find Mala, a wall next to them completely falls apart, and Titano standing over him, but he's bigger than he has been before. So they end up fighting with him, and then the Guerrilla Legion shows up, and they're a lot faster and they're a lot stronger than they've been before, right? So Bobo mentions this, so he goes, okay. It looks like Bobo is running, you know, but turns out he was getting some help, and Gleek and Beppo end up coming. They
DC has
fight.
a lot of ape and monkey
They
characters, you
do,
know
right?
that? Like, it's dawning on me as you're just listing groups and
Yeah.
names left and
Well,
right.
in fact, they make their own JLA. Do you want to guess what it stands for? For?
Justice League of Apes.
Nope.
No?
It's the Jungle League of America.
Okay, that's better. That's better.
Right?
I'll get that.
So they end up fighting these guys. Titano keeps getting bigger. Jackanapes keeps getting faster. Ultra Humanite is being able to use full-on telekinesis.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Does America have any jungles?
No. This is why the name's silly.
Okay.
Much like the rest of the story.
South America obviously does, but
yes, South America, Central America definitely have those types of rainforest jungles. We have more deciduous forests, so you know it's not so much
just check it. So
yeah, so you know they have their hands full, and it's Sam ends up tailing Mala into this warehouse, and when they get in there, there's all the missing monkeys, and they're all missing at least an arm, right? And Igor's there, and he is doing this ritual where he's taking a monkey's arm uh, and basically making these wishes. Like, so he says here that he, make Titano 20 feet taller. And by feet, he means the empirical unit of measurement and not this and not that. He's being ultra specific because you find out that through this monkey Comic Con, the Ape Necrocomic-Con, I'm not going to keep tripping over these things. They're essentially making monkey paws. And that's why they wanted the monkey princes. And they're able to take it, the fact that he can control it while being away from it made things more difficult. But Mala is like, well, this is already magic. This might be the key to doing all of this. So Sam gets the jail ape, which is a much better name, to there, and as the Guerrilla Legion is getting ready to fight them off out of the warehouse, they essentially get Mala to monologue that this was all his plan, and the Guerrilla Legion didn't realize that he was going to be hurting other creatures like them. So they end up turning on him. They leave him at the Gorilla City outskirts with a sign that says "Traitor to apes, spank this monkey." And Sam Simeon is like, pretty sure something got lost in the translation on the sign. And in the epilogue, which they call here an ape-ologue, that through Monkey Prince's magic in the book, they were able to restore all of the arms to the various monkeys. And then the Titans, because they're based out of Bloodhaven right now, the Titans show up to help.
Oh, I was thinking you meant like Kong and Godzilla and so on.
Not those. That would have been nice. I would have, but no, the Titans with Nightwing and them, they show up to also help. And it ends with Simeon taking another case for this lady monkey who says that her ex-husband's trying to kill her. He's an organ grinder with an axe to grind. Won't you please help me? Right? And then it ends with him being in the office, like a film noir. So very, very silly stuff. Very much worth my read here. And this was the majority. And then we get two smaller stories. The next one is Josh Fialkov with art by Phil Hester. So, it comes in pretty nice. But it starts with this guy beating a man to death with a rock on the side of the road. And as he goes to drive away, he sees a hand holding out like the hitchhiker symbol. And it's Detective Chimp. And he picks him up. And Detective Chimp ends up talking to this guy. And we get a lot of the guy's inner monologue. And he is wondering, like, why this talking chimp is riding in the car, why he needs a ride, why is he going to Metropolis, and he's like, well, did he see me kill Mr. Donovan, who was the other guy in the car? Did what is going on here? And he ends up saying, like, he's gonna figure out what I did. He seems like he's like some kind of super genius because he's a talking chimp. And that's where he calls him a monkey. So there's more of that of, apes don't have tails, monkeys do. And so they stop to get food. The guy goes in and realizes that he's gonna have to take care of him just like he did Donovan. So it seems like this guy is going through some, internal struggles. And when he goes to get back into the car, Bobo is already sitting in the driver's seat, confusing this guy even more. He's like, oh, so wait, he can drive now too? And this is where Bobo starts getting him off of his game, because as they start driving, he just starts asking questions. Who's Donovan? How do you know that? Oh, I found his wallet. And he's like, oh, I picked him up before you dropped him off outside of Gotham. But I was like, oh, that explains the smell. And the guy starts panicking more and more. So now it starts becoming like the Telltale Heart, where everything he says, Bobo is picking up a little more. And to the point where now he draws the gun on Bobo and says, "Oh, I didn't kill him." And Bobo's like, "Yeah, I didn't think he was even dead. You just told me that he's dead." Would explain the smell because of the exhaust. Makes it hard to tell. Makes it hard for Bobo to tell the difference between pollution and blood. And you find out that this man's name is Doug, and he goes, "You're fine. We'll get out of here. No one's ever gonna believe this happened because you're talking to a talking chimp, right? So let's just get you here. Well, Doug, I know where we'll go. We'll get you some help." So he ends up taking him into like a sheriff's office along the road. And he goes, "It's what I do. I help people that are in need. Sometimes it's easier to understand something that, it's easier to understand from this point of view." And Doug's like, "Oh, so like, what, are you a superhero?" And he goes, "No, nothing like that. Nothing at all." And then it just ends with the guy surrendering himself into the sheriff's office, So basically, Bobo, through his powers of deduction, got this guy to turn himself in without a punch thrown, without anything. And so that story was called Detour, and I think it's one of the stronger stories I've read with Detective Chimp, just because it really got into the detective aspect of it, and it almost felt like one of those pulpy criminal stories, from back in the day. Just it happened to have a talking Detective Chimp in there. And then the last story is called A Call to Arms, and it's Jean Luen Yang and Bernard Chang, so the team from Monkey Prince.
Okay.
And it's just it's a follow-up from the first story, where ever since he got his arm back from the monkey paw experiments, it hasn't been cooperating. And so it hits him in the face in the middle of class. And then it writes in his notebook as he's trying to do his geometry work. It says, "You must go stop him." So he asks if he can go to the bathroom real quick. Teacher lets him out. He transforms into Monkey Prince. His arm splits off from his body and leads him back to the warehouse where they were. And his grandpa's there, because don't forget that his grandpa was the Ultra Humanite, right? And that the Ultra Humanite has gone to eat gore. And because of his familiarity with Monkey Prince, he's able to clone the hand. And that Ultra Humanite's going to use this to essentially take over the Earth. Now he'll have infinite wishes, basically. And Monkey Prince, before he fights, he realizes that these are all his arms, so they'll have to listen to him. So he transforms them all into pieces of hair, right? And it ends up leading Igor. He ends up hitting him with a staff, knocking him down, and then he guilt trips his grandpa, going like, "I thought you wanted to be better. You're the guy that gave me my first bike. Like, what are you doing?" And that ends up making Ultra Humanite stop, and tells him, "Hey, are you guys still coming over for dinner? I'll put a pizza in the thermonuclear oven." And then it ends with Monkey Prince going through. So not the strongest of the stories, but I think it was a real fun time. And then in the back of the book, to make up pages, it's a bunch of gorilla-centric covers from old comics. So, a lot of Star-Spangled War stories and Strange Adventures, just a lot of silly stuff. So, but yeah, out of the main stories, I think I like the Detective Chimp one the most, just because of what it did with the characters. And then you could tell Layman was having a lot of fun in that other one, with the Gorilla Legion and the Jail Ape. So, but yeah, so overall, this book, though, it's not necessary, but it is a fun read, so I'll give it a 7.5.
Yeah, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmicky
yeah.
book.
But at least with the gimmick, I don't feel like I wasted my time,
Oh, sure. I mean, you knew that going in. You'd be very surprised if it was anything, special, pardon the pun, because it's called the Ape-ril special.